Hello my friends, this is gonna be a little bit of a spontaneous video. I stumbled upon this little video here. PiG's balance proposal, things that he wants to change in the game if he was the balance council, I guess. I didn't think I would make the video, but then I looked into his changes and I can't disagree more than that. This seems to be, I don't know, I think in the past I said something like, I feel like, I say like, pros shouldn't balance the game, but now I even think like I'm happy that casters are also not balancing the game. We do need like a person that actually does this professionally. Man, like the things that I have to read here are mind-blowing to me. Let's get started. So I'm just gonna go through the changes. I've seen some of them. So here are the Zerg changes. So let's just quickly dive into the changes. So let's say buff or nerf, and then we're gonna like talk about it. So he wants infested Terrans to be a thing again. The non-upgrade version, the non-rocket version, I guess. That's a buff. I think infested Terrans are usually pretty insane, so it's a buff. He wants to get like Viper and auto attack like High Templar. That's a buff as well, but like obviously a smaller one. Spore Crawler build time buff, yeah. And then plus 5 HP on Baneling. Huge buff again. Overlord reduced speed. So small like Overlord. Wait, this will increase the ability to deny. Increase the ability to deny scouting. Okay, for a second I thought this was the other way around. But this is a nerf. Small Overlord nerf. Why Overlord nerf? What the hell? Anyways, I'll wait here. I don't know why you wanna nerf like the Overlord speed. But whatever. Brute Lord, the behavior, so like there's like a delay with the first shot. That sort of makes sense, but it's a buff if you remove that. Like it's a pretty big buff, honestly, because you can like be active with the Brute Lord then, especially against Terran, against like Thors and stuff like that. And while Thors are very strong against Brute Lords, like they're kind of also like the only thing you really have as a Terran. Well, at least for most Terrans. I've seen Clem use Ghost against Brute Lords and it works, so I'm not 100% sure if I talk to every Terran, but like I don't find like late game TVZ to be like easy for Terran, you know, and if you like make the Brute Lord better, then that seems to be rough. And then he wants to revert some of the changes in the past. Ravager build time, it builds faster. Awesome, another buff. So Zerg buff. Queen Hatchery, here on the bottom, Queen Hatchery and Queen Cost. I don't know if this is a nerf or buff. It's here a small lurker buff. Keep in mind this is the other way around. He wants to revert this, so he wants to go from currently 190 HP to 200 HP, so this might be a little bit confusing. Let's go to the Terran changes. So he wants to make the Water Mines invisible again after Armory. So that's a buff, but he wants to make the Armory more expensive again. That's a nerf. He wants to make, I'm just gonna go through the changes quickly, the Ghost Light Tech. That's a huge nerf, and he wants to redesign EMP to make it like drain 100, it drains 100 shield over 2 seconds, so that's a pretty big nerf, especially against Archons. Because like when you go up against Archons, you like throw like 3 EMPs at them and like one-shot them. I sort of like this change. I think this makes sense, this change. However, in the current state of TVP, you want to add a light tech and an EMP nerf? Okay, let's first continue. Raven, auto attack, pretty useless. Nobody ever asked that. What is this, like, add auto attack, bro? Nobody ever asked for that. I'm a fan of, like, not having an auto attack. Water Mines burrow faster again, so currently it's 1.07 to 0.71, but that's after Drilling Claws. So like in TVP it's like pretty useless, for example, because you never get Drilling Claws. Then he wants to buff the Liberator range again after the range upgrade, and he wants to nerf its cost again. So buff, nerf. So Zerg was buff. Terran is always like either strong nerf or buff and then nerf. Great so far with the current state of Terran. Snipe damage buffed again, so it does like more damage against Zerg. I like that change. If you nerf the Zerg like that, it makes sense. And he wants to buff the supply again from 3 to 2 supply. Honestly, this one, just talking from like, I'll go more in detail currently, but I like the Ghost being 3 supply. I think that was probably one of the few changes that the Balance Council did correctly. The 3 supply Ghost is probably like one of the best changes. The Ghost being a 2 supply unit and that expensive as well, that to me is silly. Just from like a basic like point of view, like a basic like game design point of view, you know. The Ghost being 2 supply is silly. It's a spellcaster with the most abilities in the game. Like you can attack with it as well. Like it has a really good attack. You can snipe, you can EMP. Like the Ghost is like the most all-around unit. It can fight, it has all the spells, it can literally cloak as well, nuke, like that's what I mean with like the most abilities. It technically has 4 abilities with the nuke. So like the Ghost has to be 3 supply in my opinion. It just seems like a hero unit, and a unit like that, well, it's still like a relatively small and fragile unit. It should be 3 supply, right? Like 2 supply a hero unit like that, like it's the same supply as a Marauder. Like, don't even think about balance too much, just from like a design perspective. That makes no sense to me. Okay. And then we go into the Protoss changes. So here we go into his Protoss changes that he wants. Hold on. Yeah. So he wants to nerf energy recharge from 100 energy to 75 energy. Good change. This is, I think, exactly what we need. Good change. Like 75 energy, I think is a nice sweet spot. Like you're still gonna be able to do hallucination and stuff, and like oracles don't have infinite energy in PvZ. I guess I don't want to talk too much about PvZ, as I'm like, I don't really have any knowledge I can really bring in PvZ. I can bring knowledge to like the Terran matchups. Yeah, this is a good change. 1 storm instead of 2. 75 energy makes a lot of sense. Good change. Surveillance mode from the observer nerf, yeah, makes sense as well. Oracle revelation, it's apparently bugged, okay. Smaller range, okay, yeah. I mean, oracles are not that great against Terran anyways. And he wants to give hallucinations less sight. And he wants to be able to hallucinate like carriers and tempers. Now with the range of a tempest and carriers like interceptors, I'm not sure how that will work. I don't like that. And the hallucination like side nerf, I don't like that either. If you're gonna nerf the hallucination, what I think is like correct, like you should nerf it probably. Because it's like literally map hack for especially like the mid-tier like Protoss level, let's say. Just like nerf its like duration, you know, from like at least oracles and phoenixes. Because like the thing that bothers me the most is like how Protosses go for a hallucinated phoenix. You can't kill it, even if you have a cyclone and they go out of it. You sometimes, even with a cyclone, you can't kill it. And then like it stays so long until you already have like another hallucination in your base. So like the duration time, I think, is the silly thing about the hallucination, not its vision. The sight is fine, I think. Stasis wards, he wants to nerf that quite significantly. Like the duration of it, I think that makes sense. 170 seconds is honestly insane. And you can only see that being like a thing now with energy overcharge, but before like people didn't spam as many status words because they didn't have as much energy. So that makes sense. Now, instead of this bonus change, like instead of stunning the unit, he wants to, or freeze the unit, he wants the unit to have 50% less movement speed for 10 seconds. Bro, that's a fungal growth. Like, I like uniqueness in the game. Don't like give Protoss like a fungal growth. Like, that would literally be the same thing, basically. Okay, DT, attack delay after blink remove. Okay, buff. Okay, and then we go into another few changes here. Disruptor, so he wants to so here's the thing. He wants disruptors to be 3 supply instead of 4, buff. And he wants to give the full damage back. You know what he doesn't want to revert? The radius change. Bro, the radius got nerfed in the last buffed, I mean, in the last patch, and you don't want to revert that. The disruptor would be suddenly like the best unit in the game. Like, what is this? 3 supply disruptor, same damage as before, and bigger radius? No! What is this? Do you like play the game? What? Anyways, let's first jump into the rest. He wants to buff the Immortal again, give the more DPS again, and more expensive, so like more supply efficient, you can call it. And he wants to give the Tempest the range back and more supply, especially against like Liberators, I guess. Yeah, so he wants to give Protoss a little bit of an option against the big Liberator buff. Okay, let's talk about this. These changes. So first of all, we're gonna talk not about the Zerg changes, because I want to mainly talk about TVP. So HeroMarine change. So he wants the HeroMarine to be invisible after Armory again. That is a good buff for like the mid game, but this is like something like it's useless at pro level. Like like nobody ever does like Armory HeroMarine drop openings. Like, they don't deal any damage. Protoss has detection anyways, you know? So, like, this is useless for pro level. In mid-game, it's nice. Like, in mid-game against Protoss, it gives, like, a nice little buff. After you have the Armory, but keep in mind, he also wants to, like, make the Armory again more expensive. So that's a little bit of a compensation. So this is only a mid-game thing. And in mid-game, you're already dead. Because, like, the problem with TOS is, like, Terrans get, like, significantly behind, especially like already in the early game. And with this change, like the problem is not like detection in the early game for TOS. The TOS has a robo anyways, like they can easily afford that. This is just gonna make the game also worse for like lower players. Like, I'm not a fan of being able to get invisible units this easily. You literally just build barracks, factory, armory, bam, invisible units. It doesn't take long time, no upgrade to research. I don't think it makes sense to have invisible units in the game like this easily. I think, especially for lower level players I speak here, there should always be an upgrade behind it, like Cloak, or there should be like Burrow, for example. Or that it should just take forever or be expensive. Like, it should take forever to build like Dark Templars or be expensive. This is like bad change, because like the HeroMarine is like not great. Like the HeroMarine, keep in mind, what you want to change about the HeroMarine is its splash damage. Like, even if you get like a HeroMarine drop in, it doesn't even kill that many probes again anymore. Like, the splash is the problem. If you want to like buff the HeroMarine, the splash is the problem against Zealots in particular. This is like not really a big buff. Like, not at all. Not at all. This is just gonna make life more frustrating for lower level players. Not a good change. Well, it's a pretty big buff in mid-game, but at that point you're already dead. Like, the TOS doesn't need to rely on Zealot run-bys, which are easier to defend then, I guess. Like, it really isn't that big of a deal. The TOS just brings a couple more observers and they are fine. For what he does here, and that is what we have to talk about, the light tech on the Ghost. Light tech on the Ghost. So do you even play the game? So more vulnerable against Colossus. Like, Colossus, huge buff. Like, Protoss would just be able to get Colossus so easily. He also wants to significantly nerf EMP. Why would I even build Ghost then? Like, they're already not like Terran is already like struggling super hard against Protoss right now. And you want to essentially like nerf the Ghost super hard against Colossus. Like, super hard. Like, Colossus would just vaporize Ghost. And you want to nerf EMP, which is already, like, I think at a good state, as it is. I disagree. Like, do you even play the game? Like, against Zerg, I can somewhat relate, like, against Banelings, but even there, like, do you ever see, like, any, like, lower level Terran, like, win against Zergs because they just spam Ghosts? The only thing I see is, like, Clem just playing, like, a god and, like, beating, like, Reyna in the late game, for example. Like, I can see that, like, Terran has, like, the highest skill ceiling in, like, TVZ, and if you play perfect, is sometimes it feels like the Zerg doesn't have many options. But, I mean, I think TVZ is in a good state right now. I don't think we need changes like that. Especially because, keep in mind, earlier in this video, we look at the Zerg changes, and we're like, buff, 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 buff. Banelings plus... another thing I want to talk about is the Baneling plus 5 HP. So he wants to give the Banelings plus 5 HP back, but apparently what he doesn't want to revert is the cheaper upgrade. So in case you don't know, they made the upgrade cheaper and build faster as a compensation for the 5 HP nerf. He doesn't want to revert that, but he wants to revert like the armory cost for like because of invisible wooden mines, you know. I don't know, man. I'm smelling some Zerg bias over here. And then Liberator range +3. I guess we have to talk about that as well. Not very impactful. Like +1 range, especially if you revert like the Tempest change, that's not a big deal. Because like Liberators, and he also wants to make them more expensive again. Because Liberators, like they are terrible until they have +2 and range. So like, if you get there, like the +1 range is nice. But at that point, you're probably already dead, especially with these changes. Because you can never get there. Liberators without +2 attack with a 2-shot Stalkers are pretty bad. Ghost being 2 supply, nice, I can make more 2 supply Ghost that then get like 1-shotted by Colossus. Amazing, yeah. Amazing. I'm sure everybody wants to play against Protoss like this, yeah. A light Ghost so that the Colossus, which you see like every game, just vaporizes like Ghost as well. And then the worst out of every change here, like absolutely the worst change is this one, the Disruptor change. Like Disruptors right now are already like pretty good, I think. I don't think anyone disagrees, but like basically you equalize the Ghost buff with the supply by giving the Disruptor less supply, so it goes from 4 to 3 again. So that's a pretty big buff. And then you also revert the damage, but you don't revert the radius. Like either his research is just terrible and he just forgot what happened last patch, or he just doesn't play the game, or he just like is a people pleaser, I guess. Like that's honestly, I think that's a lot of the time the case as well. People just like see what the community like on Reddit or whatever types, and then like people pleasers are like, oh yeah, we should like do this, or people like to listen to like Harstem. So he's like, yeah, Harstem suggested it. I should like suggest that as well. Like here, DT attack delay after blink removed. Anyways, let's not make this video like too long. Let's summarize. So we want to buff Zerg. TVZ is like, let's say, balanced right now. So you want to only buff Zerg, and then you want to nerf Terran, in particular the Ghost, which is the only thing that you really like. All the Terran changes, you know, like for TVZ, they're pretty like meaningless. I guess drilling claws, like burrowing faster, is somewhat nice, but like it's also not that great. Like it's really not that like big of a deal. Like I see Terrans like sometimes they don't even like build like they don't even build like water mines, you know. So like that's nice, but like not really as impactful. And then he wants to give the Ghost the light attack, bro. The armory change for the water mine is useless against Zerg. And then he wants to buff everything about Zerg here. I think this is terrible for TVZ. Zerg is not in a bad state right now against Terran. The only thing that sucks is like the Cyclone bug. I can see that. Like mech against Zerg is honestly pretty good right now. I think at like higher level even. Like I think mech against Zerg at lower level is already insane, but like the Cyclone bug is insane at higher level, like if you micro your Cyclones as well. So I think if you just like make sure that isn't like too powerful, I think TVZ is in a fine state right now. I definitely don't think Zerg needs like this many like buffs, you know, like +5 HP Banelings, Ravagers build faster, Brute Lords being like easier to micro, all that kind of stuff. I don't think Zerg needs that. Like especially with the Ghost being light tech, so like Banelings suddenly one-shot them. Like I never beat it's not like. So here's the thing: you need to nerf Ghost as soon as I start beating Cyril regularly by spamming Ghost. If you see like me like spam 30 Ghost against like Cyril and I win, then you need to be concerning. But that has not happened to date. And then to summarize like the TVP, bro, this is insane. Like, do you even play the game? You want to buff the Disruptor significantly. You buff Colossus significantly with the light tag. Storm is still good after like this energy recharge change, right? Like you can still get insta Storm. Storm is still good after the energy recharge nerf, but that's at least slightly worse. And you want to like make DTs better again against Planetary by removing the attack delay. So DT hit squads become better. Disruptors insanely good, like better than they were ever. Immortals better, which is not a big deal. Colossus significantly better because of like Ghost being light. Do you even play the game? Like, I didn't want to make this video. I usually don't rant like that. Well, at least when it comes to like other content creators. But these changes blew my mind, so I just had to make this spicy video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys around for the next video. I need to chill after that.